sports and basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman podcast.
NBA, some college, a little bit of everything.
You know, what can I say? But it wasn't going to happen here with him.
You're listening to the Bob Ryan, Jeff Goodman, Tanguay along for the ride podcast here on the CLNS Media Network. Show brought to you by PrizePicks, North America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Download today and use code CLNS to get $50 when you play 5. PrizePicks. Run your game. Guys, it's been a slow summer for the Celtics. We are going to get to some other NBA news, but I just thought off the top, has anybody got a thought? We haven't talked about them really in a month. Nothing's really changed. Jeff, have you heard anything? Talked to anybody? Anything that changes our opinion of them?
No, Bob and I talked to him while you were gallivanting somewhere recently. I don't remember where you were at that point, but you were having fun somewhere. You've been on quite the journey lately. Out here, we had lunch, Bob, Gary, and I, in Charleston. And so we talked a little bit about Jaylen Brown and, you know, could he be the guy to lead the Celtics? But here's the thing that I would follow up on that on. And I don't know how much Bob and I talked about this, but, you know, here's the difference. The difference is Jaylen Brown's going to be the #1 guy without Jason Tatum, without Jrue Holiday, without Porzingis, and with 5 big men, of which it could be the worst collection of big men that we've seen in the NBA. I don't know ever, but up there. It's a bad group. So is it fair? I will take it a step further. And I've been the one that has been critical of Jaylen Brown over the years, but I will say this. Is it going to be fair to judge Jaylen Brown this year with the supporting cast he will have, Bob?
No, not at all, I don't think. And even if Tatum were here, losing those guys was crucial.
Right.
And
I mean, Bob, that's a good take.
Success. And you know, people, you got to be realistic. This is going to be polite, a transition year. And if they manage to squeak into the play-in, it's a success. I'm sorry. And yeah, you're right, though. Your inferences about him, is there's no way that he would be able to carry a completely mediocre team to any kind of glory. No way. But even with Tatum, this team would have been
well, you're right.
A different category. They're in a totally different category now. Anybody who talks to knows that.
That's a good take, because when they lost Porzingis and then Holiday left, and Holiday wasn't the same guy, the window closed. It was a brief window. They had a chance to win back-to-back, and it didn't go their way. I do think they're better. Aren't they better than a play-in? Because, look, Indiana's hurt. I mean, I'm looking at the top 18. Why can't they get in the top 8?
No, you got to get top 6 play-in. Top 6 is to stay out of the play-in, Gary. So, yes, absolutely they could. Absolutely they could. But, again, if you're looking at Bob, I kind of went through this last week a little bit, okay? You got New York and Cleveland. They're not as good as either one of them.
Draw a line.
Clearly. Orlando, I think clearly a better team. I do. I believe they're clearly a better team this year with the addition of Desmond Bane and obviously Paolo and Wagner getting better. They're young. So those are 3 right there. Detroit, Milwaukee, you can make a case. Atlanta's gotten better, right? I mean, the bottom's still bad. Washington still stinks. Philly's probably going to stink again because they're not going to be healthy. We know Chicago's terrible. Toronto's not very good. Miami's gotten worse. There's Charlotte. They did okay in the draft, but I mean, come on, we don't trust Charlotte. So there's like a half dozen teams that
one more. Detroit, they're better. Detroit's better than them.
Yep.
Yeah, well, Detroit's better, but let's look at. Okay, Jeff. 7, 8, 9, 10. So those are all the playing games, right?
Yep.
So last year it was the Magic, the Hawks, the Bulls, and the Heat. So the Hawks, the Bulls, and the Heat, they're out. The Magic drop up. So the Magic go up and the Celtics go down.
Yep.
I mean,
Indiana comes out. Right.
So it's not. I mean, I don't want to let them off the hook. I mean, they're not going to win the conference. We understand that.
No, they could be 5. They should be somewhere 5 to 9.
Yeah, they should be better than 9.
Okay, 5 to 7, 5, 6, 7, 8. I'll give them 5 to 8. 5 to 8.
I don't want to let him off the hook that easy.
Yeah.
And maybe it's better. Maybe it's better that there's no expectation.
You still have your top two players are probably, I'm trying to think who can trot out. Orlando's you take over those two. Obviously, New York, you take Brunson and Towns over those two. Detroit, you're probably not taking. I mean, their two are as good as most people's two. Now, the problem is, again, in the middle and really everywhere else. Is Peyton Pritchard good enough to be a 30-minute-a-game guy? Can Sam Hauser play 25 minutes on a team where now he's a little bit of the focal point? He's not just standing in the corner with nobody paying attention to him.
There's a Peter principle at stake with those guys. And that's a phrase we haven't heard in a long time, but it applies, above their capability, and they'll be expected to do more than they're capable. I'd be very pleasantly surprised, and I'm a big Pritchard fan, but I don't want to overrate him either. So he's functioned so well in the role he's had, but I don't know if we elevate him if he's going to be able to produce at a comparable level. Okay, then you make a good point about White being the number two, and let's just roll the ball out there. That's why predictions very iffy this year, no question. So let's roll the ball out and see something will happen we weren't foreseeing. That, and that's true in every sport and every year. That something's going to happen. Team's going to emerge we didn't see coming. Somebody is going to screw up that people weren't expecting to screw up. That's pretty much a given. So I don't know. But all I'm saying is people should definitely, and I'm a natural pessimist to start with, so maybe I'm the wrong one to bring this up. I would much rather be pessimistic and be pleasantly surprised than overly optimistic and disappointed. Okay, I'm sorry. To me, that's a much more intelligent way. And I always say a pessimist is an optimist with experience. And so there you go. I'm expecting very modest things, and then I'll be happy if they're better. To me, it's such a much safer way to go through life with this team.
Jeff, Bob may have been a pessimist in 1985, but I think he's an optimist compared to what we're dealing with in the media today. I'll tell you that right now. Bob, I have to ask you this. I'm going to put you on the spot. In your 50 years, like you just said, maybe something will happen. What is the biggest surprise you saw that no one saw coming?
That's a good question. I always go back to the most surprising finals outcome, the stunner of stunners.
The Warriors?
Because of not only who won and who lost, but how it was a sweep. And that's the Warriors in 75. Yeah. And now they had a good year, but Phoenix was, they definitely, everybody assumed they were better. And anyway, that's a start. Now,
what about Steph Curry? What do you think Curry's one of the great? Because Steph Curry was at Davidson, and maybe Jeff could chime in after this too. Steph Curry was at Davidson. There's no way in hell anybody thought he would be the player he is.
Well, he was the 7th pick in the draft, though. He was the Knicks.
That could be a light draft, wasn't it?
Oh, I know. No, I don't think. No way was rejected that we would be having a conversation in 2025 in which we were trying to figure out where in the top 10 or 15 historically he ranks. That's the legitimate placement for him right now. And he's somewhere in the top, no question, top 15, and maybe in the top 10 now. I may have to amend my pecking order. He's the greatest shooter of all time. That's got to stand for a lot. And he is the greatest shooter of all time. That's got to stand for a lot. No, you're right. That's a very good point. I have to start thinking about. Now, I do believe that, with very few exceptions, you don't even need all the 5 fingers on the hand to count the number of high school phenomenon that were projected to be all-time greats who materialized into it. Al Sindor, yes, Chamberlain, LeBron, and then you go over the endless list of great players, truly great players, who turned out to be better than anybody ever thought, including Bird and Magic. Mostly Bird, Magic maybe, but Bird definitely. No one saw this level that he achieved. So, anyway, Curry is a great example, though. You're right. You're right. It's I have to think hard to find someone that would match that level of overachievement.
Well, I mean, Jeff, you were around now. You know that family well.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he was drafted behind Johnny Flynn, just so we know. Okay. He was
Yeah.
drafted. Hashim Thabit was second that draft. So now there were some good players too. Blake Griffin went first that year. So it wasn't Steph. The big thing with Steph coming out of Davidson was number one, is he a point guard? Is he a point at his size? Everybody's thinking, well, he's got to be a point guard. And it's funny because if you told Steph, hey, you know what? We need you to run the team and just make people better. Like, I think he could have done it. That was number one. Number two, can he guard anybody? And he couldn't. Coming out of Davidson, he could not guard anybody. He turned himself into, I think, an above-average defender over time. But yeah, I mean, there were a lot of questions about Steph Curry coming out of Davidson, that whether it would translate to the NBA. There were a lot of concerns.
Well, but as far as the assists, though, don't you think he's grown into a very good distributor?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. He could play point guard. If you put him around four scorers and you said, hey, Steph, we need you to just be a guy that you don't need to average 25 a game, average 15 a game, and average 10 assists, 100% he could do it.
Oh, absolutely. He's a great shooter who can pass. And his first priority crossing midcourt should be shooting. That's why he's not a point guard. But he could, as you say, if that were the job description that he had to fulfill on a nightly, weekly, or monthly or annual basis, he could easily adapt to that. There's no question. But that's not the best use of him. Obviously, the best use of him is scorer first and passer second. And that was readily identified, and he's lived up to everything that anyone could ever have hoped for.
On the other side of things, a player who I remember when he first came into the league, I believe out of Kentucky, and then with Washington, I thought John Wall was destined. I mean, I remember talking to Brad about that, Brad Stevens, because that's back when I was somebody, and I was doing the pregame show. And, the thing that's great about Brad, and you guys know this, is he just said to me, like, I'm paraphrasing here to make a point.
Yeah.
He didn't say this, but it was like, golly gee. I mean, he was like, I can't believe how big John Wall is. Yeah. That's what he was saying. The first time he had seen him, like, I guess during shoot around, he was like, his eyes popped out. He goes, Gary, I can't believe how big this guy is.
And I'll bet that's because you think of him, the first thing you thought of in those days was speed.
Right.
And with speed, you think of anywhere from 5'11" to 6'2", you just think of speed and that size more than you do that. But his speed at his size was extraordinary coming into the league. There's no question. That's how the first thing you thought of.
Yeah, I thought he was dead. I mean, Bob, I'll let you elaborate. I mean, it didn't work out. He was with a terrible organization. It's kind of too bad because I thought at one point this guy was a really great player, and I thought he was destined for big things.
He was a number one. So there's a burden there always, right? Okay. He turned out to be, here's the productive, he had 7 productive years. Okay. And the first 7 productive years without a great injury. All-star 5 times. He made third team All-NBA once. He made all defensive second team once. And just as a bonus, he won the 2014 slam dunk contest. Okay. But the point, then he got hurt. Here's how, since 2017-18, guys, here's the number of games per year that he was able to play. You ready? 41, 32, 0, 40, and 34.
Yeah.
And that's the story that is going to, right? Jeff, I mean, I don't say he's going to be a Hall of Famer, but he would have been how much higher thought of historically. But what are you going to do? I mean, I'll repeat that. In the last 5 years of his career, the most games he was able to get into was 41. And
I've never seen anybody. First time I saw him was in a back gym in Vegas at an AAU tournament after his sophomore year of high school, and nobody really knew about him back then. Mm-hmm. And a coach had told me to go in the back gym. You got to watch this kid. Back then, it was like, prior to really social media, so you could discover guys then. Nowadays, everybody's out there. You're not discovering anybody in July. Back then, it was like word of mouth from college. You got to see this kid. Go in the back gym at this, Durango High School, and you drive over, you go to the back gym, and a lot of times you'd be disappointed. You'd be like, all right, he played like whoever. Well, I'm sitting there next to, back then, I think his guy was Brian Clifton, was his AU coach, or ran the program. And I remember talking to him about him. I had never seen anybody so fast with the ball that was that big and strong and athletic. Ever. Like Ish Smith is probably the fastest guy end to end with the ball in the NBA, but he's like a little guy, right? Like John Wall is a man and was always a man like that. And he made Kentucky, I mean, that year, and I never got along with Calipari. So John Wall, I'll give him credit because I had known John from AAU days, and a lot of kids were scared to talk to me because they knew Cal and I didn't get along. John Wall was fine, nice kid, always kind of treated people well. I'm sad that, number one, as you guys said, he didn't play on a better team. It was him and Bradley Beal in Washington. They had nothing else. And number two, that he wasn't healthy enough to be able to end his career maybe the last 5-6 years, maybe in a better situation where he could have been, at least a winning NBA player. Because I think, what he did at Kentucky, think about it. He really got John Calipari going at Kentucky. Without John Wall, John Wall was the number one pick in 2010. Without John Wall, John Calipari never gets it going like he got it going at Kentucky. Never.
You can't exaggerate what a detriment it is to get stuck in Washington. They are now in their 5th consecutive decade of relentless mediocrity.
And that's being kind. That's being kind. Mediocrity.
They're at the best. Their glory days were the late 70s. The 70s in general. Beginning of the decade, they were very good, the Bullets and Baltimore. And then they go to Washington. And at the end of the decade, they win a championship and lose it in second, going for a second one. And as we got into the 80s, it fell off. And there have been a couple of blips, a couple of little very brief runs of decency. But other than that, mediocrity would be probably, as you say, being kind. So he's got stuck and mired in that. There's no question. Yep. And I didn't realize, guys, and I just, I thought we wanted to talk about him because he, as a number one, that there's a certain, this notoriety that has to be acknowledged about that, how disastrous things got after, he got hurt. And 5 years of the most games he could play was 41 and missed an entire season. And he couldn't play last year at all. And he finally is officially he got waived, got traded back to Houston, got waived, and now he's officially retiring. It's by the way, his career average 18.7, more than.
How old is John Wall now? How old is he now?
He's 33.
2010, he was probably 18.
That's the
15.
because he's 33.
Probably 33.
Yeah,
which is sad. I mean, think about it. His career pretty much only went till.
27, 28.
20s.
Yeah. No, his first 7 years were quite productive. No question.
If you would put him, I'm telling you, if you put him with the right organization, put him in a different spot with good winning players, that's what John Wall needed. That's what he needed, obviously beyond the injuries later on in his career.
All right. So you got John Wall.
Yep. Well, terrific career. And like I said, I remember watching him at the Garden. He was a pleasure to watch. Yep. Okay, guys, we have to take a break from the conversation because here I need to tell you about PrizePicks. The best place to turn your sports knowledge into cash. With millions of members, PrizePicks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. It's really easy. You would just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000 times your cash. That's 2,000 times your cash. Run your game all season long on PrizePicks. PrizePicks puts their members first. All withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. So you make some picks. You pick right, more or less, during the baseball pennant race. And it's really easy to get your money because withdrawals are so fast, safe, and secure. When your picks hit, you can get your money as quick as 15 minutes. PrizePicks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits in your account for every sports season. I guess, hey, baseball heating up. You love to get your money fast after you win or after you may win on PrizePicks. Every Tuesday, PrizePicks will discount their projections on the board, several projections, usually by 15 to 25%. So it is a great deal. PrizePicks. I mean, look, Ohtani, is he going to have more than 3 RBIs? Is he going to have more than 6 strikeouts? What's Judge going to do? More or less home runs? That's how you do it. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. For those of you listening to the show, we ask that you subscribe to the podcast, like and leave a review. And for those watching the show on CLNS, go ahead and hit that like button and subscribe to the Celtics All Access YouTube channel, where you can find our show and a lot of other great Celtics content. Also, please make sure to turn on your notifications so you know the instant a new video drops. Moving right along. Rick Carlisle got paid. Yeah, and 65 years young.
Yep.
And I mean, we've talked an awful lot about, I mean, let's look ahead for him. Obviously, this year he has a tough task.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the Pacers. So just your thought on Rick as a coach and what he has to do the upcoming season, Bob.
Well, he's 65, and to me, he was eternally 25. It's funny, he projects young. He does not
just do that to make yourself feel young.
He does not project old. Yeah, I know. But he was an old rookie, because he had an old-fashioned progression that Jeff knows we'll never, ever, ever see again.
Right.
But he went 4 years to high school, transferred then to Worcester Academy, went to Maine, spent 2 years, transferred to Virginia, had to sit out a year. So by the time he arrived as a rookie with the Celtics, he was almost 25, if he wasn't 25. And he was the most mature, obviously, you can imagine, guy. And of course, he astonished us with his ability to play piano by ear. That was his little, but good shooter, good solid player, not speedy, we know that, but always fundamentally, quote unquote, fundamentally sound player, that's for sure. Okay, so we know his career wasn't spectacular, wasn't great. I remember one great game, the one I'll always remember, on a Sunday afternoon in Los Angeles. He had like 10 points, 12 off the bench to turn the tide of a game. It was, to me, a single press moment as a Celtic. But he was along for the ride for the most part. Okay.
Was he close with Bird? Wasn't he close with Larry?
Well, Larry, he was Larry's assistant when Larry went to the finals.
Right.
Yes.
But he was close even when they were players with the Celtics.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, Larry was famous for befriending subs.
Right.
Or befriending Brad, was his friend, and other guys, Lowhouse, and other guys.
Greg Kite, not Greg Kite. You got Roby.
Oh well, Roby was a little bit higher being than these other guys on the food chain, base basketball. Well, they were roommates, and that's another story. When Roby got traded. And then after Larry got the MVP, so I wouldn't have made it be an MVP if they hadn't traded Rick. Too many long nights with Rick, But, anyway, so Rick predictably gets on the coaching track, and it's been a tremendous ride, including a championship in Dallas. And he's what I like about him is that he has made an incredible transformation. He was known for, defense and possessions and tight basketball. And last year he was coaching the throwback team of the NBA, the throwback team to the wild and woolly days. They were the best transition minded team, that the league has known in a while. And he's completely reinvented himself in a positive way. So it shows that flexibility. And I'm very biased here. I love the guy. He's a good human being, and I'm so happy for him that he's cashing in and the career he's had, and I'm hoping someday I'll get to go to Springfield and see him make an acceptance speech.
Yeah, I mean, I give him credit. I give him a lot of credit. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we got you.
I give him a lot of credit for number one. I thought it was over after Dallas. I was like, all right, this isn't going well with Luka. They're not going to work together. It's just going to be clashing because, Carlisle's back then we thought like it was my way or the highway, right?
Yeah.
And Luka came in with all this fanfare, and now we see kind of why Luka was traded, right? He didn't have the greatest work habits. Well, that's not something that Rick Carlisle is going to put up with,
right?
Or not playing defense, and he kind of did for a while. I think I remember, Bob, you, me, and Carlisle talking after a pregame for a few minutes about Luka and everything, and how it is for him to coach him, and so I give him credit for adjusting, because at this stage of the game, a lot of coaches are just like, I made my money. I mean, Rick Carlisle has made money.
We won't have to hold a charity benefit for Rick. No.
Right. So like he could easily be like, all right, I'm done at this point. I don't want to coach it, because we didn't think Indiana was going to be very good. Nobody did this year. What he did in Indiana this year, probably, if we're being honest, is probably his best coaching job of his entire career.
I agree. There's one other thing about Rick that should be noted: the respect he has among his peers. He is the longtime president of the Coaches Association, and I'm sure, and now I'm sure it was a vote, that he won, and and they're very happy with his his tenure. So he's got respect all over the place.
Well, it seems to me he's lightened up in that I don't remember him smiling as much as he has over the last couple of years.
Right. Look at that group, though. Yeah. That group has to be so much fun to coach, right? I mean, we talked about it a little bit during their playoff run, but you Halliburton, just good kid, plays the right way, always smiling himself. TJ McConnell, what are you going to say? You can't say a negative thing about TJ McConnell. Miles Turner, high character. Like, those guys are just high character dudes who played the right way, and frankly, they just overachieved last year.
All right, guys.
Anyway,
go ahead.
I'll be around for a while. Good, God love him.
Do you have some thoughts on the Nuggets beefing?
Well, I just want to throw out that kind of under the radar, I think they've helped themselves depth-wise in the offseason. And so I'm anxious to see, anxious. I'm curious. I'll be keeping my eye on how they do, because Jonas Valanciunas, I'll pronounce it, they picked up. He's no stiff. He's a damn good, I won't even say backup. He's okay. Offensively, he's a much better player than people realize. And including, he's 34% 3-point shooter. People don't think of him in the terms that they do, obviously, of the Giannis's and the Embiids and the Porzingises. But this guy can make them too. I think he's going to help them. Pick up Tim Hardaway Jr., and they also picked up Boston native, our boy, our man, Bruce Brown. And I want Jeff to expound a bit on Bruce Brown.
Well, as tough as it gets. I mean, that's the thing, is they weren't nearly as tough since he left. I mean, he's a guy that just doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about any of the accolades or anything. He just wants to win games. So I think, yes, that was a great pickup. But you're forgetting maybe the biggest move they made over the offseason, Bob. You are forgetting that they traded away Michael Porter Jr. in a deal for Cam Johnson.
Yeah, right. Well,
which, Michael Porter Jr., we talked a little bit about him last week, Gary. Bob and I did, because he came out and had some comments
about the gambling comments.
Yeah, about gambling.
His brother
also said, Gary, he said his biggest vice is women. So Michael Porter Jr., they paid him. I remember, and I like him. I've known him for a long time. I like him, but they paid him a ton of money. He's hurt a lot. He was hurt during their stretch. He played during the playoffs last year with a shoulder injury, but he's hurt a lot, and he's also not a great defender and kind of an inconsistent player. So he was great in their run a couple of years ago when they won the whole thing. But Cam Johnson is kind of, I don't want to say the opposite, but Cam Johnson is a guy, you know what you're going to get every game. He's a bet, probably, I don't know if he's a better shooter than Porter, but basically he's as good a shooter as Porter. He's just a more consistent player and a guy that you know what you're going to get pretty much every single night. So I agree with you, Bob. I really like what Denver did. Obviously, Adelman's the head coach now, the permanent after the Michael Malone stuff. And that seemed to kind of flip a little bit of a switch with those guys, too, down the stretch last year.
Yeah, I don't really personally have a feel for Johnson, so I'm glad you do, because I really don't have a scope on him at all. And so I wasn't sure how much I appreciated. I didn't, picking him up. But I just think those guys are going, and Tim Hardaway Jr., who can put the ball in the basket. So
Yep.
but I'm telling you, Valanciunas, I'll get it.
Valanciunas.
Thank you. I think that was a sneakily good pickup. So that we'll see.
Yep. Agreed. No, they did well, and you're right. Not a lot of people have talked about them as maybe back in the equation a little bit more and one of the real favorites to win the title. Why not? Why not?
I mean, again, responded. They obviously are responding to OKC, and I think that they should be commended for on paper for what they did. So I'm going to be curious to see how this all works out with them.
All right, to wrap it up, I had a discussion with a colleague of mine about how things really aren't that exciting in Boston sports, and Mr. Ryan took exception with that. I'm not surprised, considering that Mr. Ryan finds something exciting and compelling in just about every game, regardless of the level. But Jeff, I'm going to start with you because I know where Bob's going to go. But now, like the Bruins, we're going to go all four sports. The Bruins, the Celtics without Tatum, the Red Sox. And now Vrabel's really the guy. I miss the Stars. What do you think?
Yeah, we've elevated Drake May into something that he is not yet, right? And I hope he becomes that. I love Drake May. I love his brother Luke May, who played at Carolina, and I want Drake May to be a star. But like he's not there yet. He's nothing close. We've elevated him, partially because he plays that position, but partially because there's nobody else right now with Tatum hurt.
Right.
And Tatum isn't a big personality also. So, yeah, the Red Sox don't really have one, right? I mean, they got a young kid who may become one. The Bruins, I mean, they're kind of boring right now. Let's face it. They were horrible this past year. And they had to watch the Rat, win the whole thing, elsewhere. So I think it's been a tough stretch right now for Boston fans, especially those in their, 20s and 30s that have been so spoiled through their lifetimes, unlike the rest of us.
Yeah, they need.
I miss Manny. I sound like such an old bastard, Bob. I'm sorry, but I miss the personalities of Manny, of Ortiz, even if you go Pedro, my God, like you would go to, I can't imagine, Bob, being on the beat right now, having to go talk to somebody. Garnett, are you kidding me? Garnett going to the podium was going to be like an event. I mean, it was every other word was the F-bomb, but like, I miss Pedro. Like I need a Pedro. I need PJ Stock, who was a ham and egger, but he was a great interview. Bob Ryan, the floor is yours.
Well, I can't disagree with you on the Patriots. The star player they have isn't even playing, and that's Gonzalez. He is a star, but people don't get, rhapsody poems about defensive backs. But the fact is, he's a star. Okay, the Bruins, I can't argue this. Certainly now that they've been stripped of true stardom, no question. Except for Pasternak. You can't argue. You can't say he's not a star.
Well, he is, but
he's a star.
Huh? Pasternak.
He's a star.
He's a talented star, but of course, we don't know about his personality. He's a Czech, and he doesn't have, people. So that's true. It would help if
and they're not good enough. Their team isn't good enough now.
Right. If he had Marchand's personality to go with his talent, wow. But he doesn't. Okay, nothing wrong with him, but he doesn't. Okay, the Celtics, you guys, I'm in agreement with. How can I disagree? But they have a star in Fenway. He's pitching. Crochet, A, B, all right? They've got young players of interest that have me excited. Well, no, Durant's not so young anymore. He's 29. But God damn it, every time he comes up, I am watching intently, hoping he hits one in the gap and goes for three. All right? That carried me through the second half of last year.
You got one guy, like one team.
Well, this is why, Bob Bryant.
I'm not done. And then Anthony, you can't be excited watching Anthony?
No, I am.
Yeah. So they're not, and we've got these two wonderful veterans who have done, and Bregman and Story now that are back in the lineup. And Story is showing us, what we've missed for all this time. and both offensively and defensively, I love watching them play short. And Bregman, come on. So I mean, the Red Sox, to me, they're interesting and enjoyable and rootable in a way that they haven't been in a few years. So I'm disagreeing on the Red Sox. I think they're doing fine.
I want one of them. I want somebody to say, "Tell Shaughnessy to wake up the Bambino, and I'll hit him in the ass."
All right. Well, okay.
That's the great. Okay, here we go. Let's wrap it up. Bob, I hear you. Bob, you're the biggest sports fan I know, period. That's why you're so good at what you do. But what is the best? Because I just like that, like when Pedro was at his locker. Was he at his locker or the podium? I can't remember. But he just said, "Tell Shaughnessy to wake up." Is that the quote? "Tell Shaughnessy to wake up the babe or Bambino, the babe, and I'll hit him in the ass."
Oh, you never knew it was coming. He talked about the Yankees he's their dad. He's their daddy.
Oh, the daddy. Yankees are my daddy.
Came up with that one. And no, Pedro was wonderful.
That whole team, though, that stretch was incredible.
Oh, Millar. Again, oh, God. I love Millar.
Millar
was priceless.
Right. Right. But again, it's different too. All right. So I will say this. It is a little bit different these days with social media.
No doubt.
Guys are more worried about their brand, right? They have another avenue to be able to kind of tell their story.
Right. And everybody has to do things. Right. Everybody has to fall in line. You can't.
There aren't as big. I mean, think about it overall. There aren't as many big person. And it's funny, like the biggest star we've had here in 25, 30 years is Tom Brady. He didn't have this huge personality.
No.
Right?
Not at all.
No, he didn't. I
mean, he was as vanilla as a god. He said nothing.
You know who and it's really too bad the way it's going now with Belichick. It's such a bummer how it's ending for him. And but Belichick's press conferences, when he would be glib, like when he was in a grumpy mood and he would like nail somebody in the media, people
were scared.
That was good stuff.
I've only seen. All right. So here's a great question for both of you guys. I know we're going off on a tangent here, but all right. Give me the coach that either you were most scared of or other people you just saw. For me, it was like Bob Knight. Probably when I first broke in, Bob Knight was as intimidating a coach as I ever dealt with.
You know who used to intimidate me more than, and I don't know why. Looking back on it, because I've talked to him since a little bit, Jack Parker at BU.
Yeah, he never smiled.
But he's a good guy. But he's a good, Bob knows. He's a good guy. Like Jerry York was always hey, big guy, very friendly. But like after a game, Parker, you go interview him, especially if they lost. Jack used to scare the shit out of me. But he's a good guy. Like when he was up for the Bruins job, he actually smiled. But Bob, Jack Parker used to scare the shit out of me.
This is one. It's not local, and he's become local. That's funny, somewhat local, but he wasn't at the time. And a reputation preceded him. And the first time I was in his physical presence, and that reputation was lived up to. You ready for this, Jeff? Frank Martin. Frank Martin. He's a big guy. He's like Knight. Knight. People don't realize that. Bobby Knight, of course, was 6'4". And he filled out as an adult. He was an imposing physical presence.
Yeah, he was.
Frank Martin is a big guy with an imposing physical presence. And when I was at a game at Loyola of Chicago, and he was coaching, Kansas State, right? And I'm sitting at the press table, and this guy's hulking presence scared the bleep out of me. I can't imagine what he did to his players. And then I got to meet him.
Like a big teddy bear off the court.
And we got to meet him. The Coaches versus Kansas here in Boston, Jeff, and you were hosting. And it was, I won't say a pussycat, but nothing like that. But I'm telling you, that original time that I was in presence of Frank Martin, I said, I'm going to have to deal with this guy.
Frank Martin always reminded me of like a West Virginia state trooper.
I like that.
Yeah,
That's good.
Gets the glasses.
Oh, yeah, the shades.
Comes over.
Oh, yeah.
Short haircut. Well, gentlemen, great show as always. Okay, until next week, brought to you by PrizePicks. Talk to you, fellas.